We all took it personally.
I thought you would. Oh, there's Michael.
Sorry, guys. Can you
It's all
see me?
good.
Oh,
Yep.
there you go.
All right. Should we start with a prayer?
Yes,
Anyone want to give it?
I can say it.
Okay, thanks.
Our dear Heavenly Father, we're thankful for the opportunity to have to meet as a group tonight and discuss this case study which we have read and studied this week. And we pray, Heavenly Father, our minds will be enlightened, that we'll be able to learn things from one another that will be beneficial to us moving forward in this life as well as at this time in our lives. We're thankful for our many blessings. We're thankful for temples and the opportunity to have to do work in them. And we're thankful for the good life God's left us with. We're thankful for this time of year and the many hearts that it turns to Christ. We pray we'll seek opportunities to share that with those around us. We pray that this night as we go about this meeting that we'll be humble and thoughtful of others, that we'll be able to have love and unity as a group. And we say that in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
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 Thank you. All right. How was Thanksgiving, guys?
It was good.
It was
Can't
good.
complain.
It was good until I got sick.
You got sick.
Yeah, I've been sick this whole week. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if it was the turkey or whatever, but or the change of weather in Florida. It went from 89 to 45 degrees.
Wow.
We went the other way. We went from the 30s to it was almost 80 today.
That's crazy.
Well, let's dive in then. Got the prayer. So quick synopsis. Is there anyone that wants to kind of give that? Just a recap of what the case study was about?
Well, I mean, I think the real problem is Barbara kind of took that new position. She'd had friends that told her not to. She took the new position in the general surgery unit, moving from where she was. And just to kind of give a brief synopsis, it seemed like all the people that worked there, their issues may have been different individual issues, but it seems like as a team, they didn't have any unity. Everyone was kind of always at each other's throats. They didn't really want to work together. They felt left out. They didn't feel appreciated. So she went from an environment that was very team-driven to a new challenge that it seems like the team didn't have much desire to work together. They had hard feelings towards one another, and that just created an environment for her that she had to be willing to change things. And so that's the first thing she did, was held that big meeting on what bothered people, and I think that didn't quite go as she had planned. And so in the end, the decisions are now moving forward, what she was going to do moving forward.
Cool. Thank you, Austin. Any first impressions about this case study? Like any things in particular that stuck out to you guys?
I don't know, but I just to me, it's like everything was so odd with this case, because it's like, it looks like all this people in this unit, it's like working in a war zone. It's like everybody's against each other. It's like completely against what teams should be all about. I was like, why if this is in the best interest of the hospital, why they're not getting this together sooner? Why is this being going on for so long? That's the way I saw it.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree.
I think there was overall lack of leadership. Therefore, everybody was worried about themselves and only themselves. I mean, they were worried about the patients too. It was clear that most of the employees genuinely cared about the patients, but beyond the patients and themselves, since there was a lack of leadership and a lot of team togetherness, they didn't trust one another. They didn't back each other up or help each other. And it just led to everybody thinking everybody wasn't there to help them.
Mhm. So the first question talks about like what are the root problems that Barbara Norris is facing. So that I think that's one of them, David. And I also think one of the ones that I thought of was like the the senior nurses, the ones that have been there for like 30 so years. They seem to not get along with the new nurses, um, and they don't seem like they really want to change how things are. So I think, yeah, they're definitely set in their ways and they're stubborn. And I think that's a big thing, a big problem because then nothing can really change because they don't want to. What are some other root problems that you guys saw? Amber says they're stressed out too because they lost. Oh yeah, huh? Yeah, so they lost. I don't remember how many, but they lost quite a few nurses, and I feel like that would be kind of an upset for the nurses that are still working there. You know, that's a good point, Amber.
And
Yeah,
and
I
there
would.
there was a lot of pressure because of their budget restraint. There was a lot of issues. There was a lot of cut in many different ways.
I also think another problem is that the previous manager didn't really keep track of any progress. She did reviews, but then didn't keep records of it, didn't follow up. No one felt like they were accountable really to anyone, and that they just have free range to do whatever they want. And so it was just disorganized. And um, when you have it that way, you feel like you really don't have to try. You don't have to do well because it's every man for themselves kind of a thing.
So do you guys think that it was maybe like too much of a buddy buddy system than it was like organizational system?
I think it was too much of a. There was no solid direction. Each nurse was doing things their own way. Each technician was doing things their own way, and so I don't think there was written down rules or procedures that were, and no responsibility if they didn't follow it. Nothing happened. No consequences if they didn't do it the way the procedure was supposed to happen.
Right.
Did I answer your question or just ramble on?
Yeah. Another question is, how well has Barbara Norris done in her first month as nurse manager of GSU? Was she a good choice for the position?
You know, I think she's a good choice because she has the right ideas. If you read the case study, her first activity of everybody meeting together and identifying the problems, I mean, I don't know if that's the way that I would have handled things in that situation. In my case study, I actually wrote about just a brief little experience about a similar situation I had been placed in. And I had like a whole group of people that didn't like each other at all. And I knew that, and I knew that they had problems with each other. But what I did was like put them in groups together. The people that I knew didn't like each other, I put them in groups together to work on a project. And I feel like as they worked on that project together, they realized like they needed each other. They had to rely on each other. Like those problems became less of a big deal, you know?
I also think she's the right person, or a right person for the job. I mean, I'm sure there could be several, but she's willing to actually attack it. She's got to change, though. She's doing too much herself. She's got to delegate more, but also change it from her doing all the work and instead of instructing others on the work, and then the classical phrase, inspect what she expects, so make sure that they know that she's checking to ensure they do things the right way and stuff like that.
Anyone think that she might not have been the best choice?
She does.
Yeah, she did, huh? She said that. She said that like she might not have wanted to actually do it. And so I kind of thought that, like, I think her conviction of wanting to turn the system around for the better, I think she has a great will for that. But like the first meeting that she had, or I guess the main big meeting that she had, I feel like she didn't really control the meeting because yeah, people were voicing their opinions, but they weren't really like getting to a point, and she couldn't really find a. Did you screenshot? You should have screenshotted, David. Um, she didn't really get to like a point where they're gonna like all decide on how they can be better. You know, I feel like they were all kind of just rambling on about what they don't like. So I don't, in my opinion, I don't know if she really was the best choice. I think she had great conviction and great will to change it, but I think maybe her leadership style could have been a little bit different, you know? Does anyone else think that? I'm sorry,
Well,
I'll
yeah,
stop swaying.
no. Keep swaying. It's awesome. She definitely needed to change her tactics a little bit. You're right. She didn't control that first meeting. It went, 3 or 4 times. I think it went 2 hours, and she wanted to go 30 minutes. So, I mean, she should have had an agenda, but it's not too late to fix it. It's just she's got to be. She wants to do it, and I think she can do it. She's just got to be a leader instead of one of the workers trying to alleviate work. Her trying to alleviate all the work for other people is not the right way to lead the group. Instructing and ensuring everybody knows what they're supposed to be doing, I think is a better way to go.
Yeah.
And I've said a lot lately, so I'll shut up for a minute. Maybe.
So I guess what you said kind of leads to the next question about what is she actually trying to, or what is she trying to make and what changes is she trying to make and why?
I think this can kind of tie into the last question too, but I think she's thinking about where she came from before and what the environment was there. And I think she's so focused on making the general surgery unit the same environment that like that's what she's shooting for. But I think what she's missing, like kind of what as you said, Nathan, like I don't know that she was the right choice, because what she's missing is like she's missing the lack of vision that like just because that's what worked there, like this is a different group of people and it might not work there. And so I think like the changes she's trying to make is to retrofit this department to be the same as the other, when it's not necessarily always going to be that way.
Well, I personally think that, like tying the case story with the reading for this week, there was one thing that from the reading that I learned. It says like building a team is not an easy task for any leader. And I think personally, like with the way she was handling things, my opinion was that she was trying basically to gather as much information as she could to then come up with a plan of how to fix things better, because there was a lot of things going on that were not supposed to happen. Like the older, the senior nurses are not supposed to have that kind of attitude. Nurses, if anything, what they were supposed to be doing was helping them be integrated and also becoming a better part of the team. And they were completely not hostile in a way. There was a lot of confrontation and complaining, and I think they were never offering or providing solutions and focusing on the problems, but no one was providing solutions. So I think that what she was doing was with the natural thing to do, gather all the information she could, so that then she could have a plan to, whatever the issues were. I didn't think there was all the way to do it. I don't think that she could have done it any other way if she didn't let everybody talk and explain how they feel and in their own word express what were their frustration.
So I think
An example like that in the book, in the five dysfunctions of a team, there was a similar example for something like that was going on.
So I think that, so Michael, you were talking about how people, in that meeting, they were able to voice their opinions, gave input on what they wanted to change, things like that, and just kind of relieve some stress by doing that. One of the things that she was trying to say or trying to change, I guess, or thought about was having those meetings regularly. And I think she was thinking that might help kind of make unity within the nurse system. So like you said, Michael, that goes right along with our reading this week. And I think it could be very beneficial. So.
Yeah, everybody kind of felt like everybody needed to make the decision whether they were going to do everything they could to help the team, or they have to quit. Or they were all on board with the team, or they're not.
Yeah. And then, like Amber says, you can't fix a problem if you don't know what it is. So, like, if they don't have that meeting and no one speaks up about, what they're frustrated about, no one's going to be able to, find a solution to anything. So that's a good point too, Amber. You can't see the forest through the trees. They only see the problems, their version of the problems. That's true.
Well, one thing that I put in my write-up is that she needed to be able to listen to and hear what their problems and concerns were so that they could, I mean, most of the time when someone doesn't feel heard, they're just going to react in a negative way. And so they really do need a manager who just listens at the beginning and tries to validate what they're saying. Even if you can't fix the problem, at least you can validate and say, I'm on your side. I want to fix this problem. And so maybe she's just trying to incorporate that into what she's doing to build trust with everyone so that they can feel comfortable talking to her about things and creating a more open environment. And because it's been really closed, as it said in there, that they came to her and wanted individual meetings. They didn't want to do group stuff. But so I think, I don't know, that's probably something I would do, is try to get a feel for what everybody's feeling and thinking anyway.
So the next question is, what are 3 obstacles to affecting the changes that Norris is trying to make? I bet that's one obstacle. There's probably, 10, 20 obstacles, but I definitely think finding out what everyone, everyone's problem is could be an obstacle, because they don't really, they kind of hide it, like you were saying. What are some other obstacles that affect the changes that Norris should try to make?
I think the administrative team. I think the administrative team should also be included in the. I think because of their budgeting issues, they put in a lot of restrictions and overtime, and probably even spending a little bit more money training the employees to. I've been to trainings like those where companies bring all the teams together and they train them, and they pay like an outside independent company to train them and to become better teams. I think that would be an obstacle, the budget issues. And so the administrative team should be, included and I guess maybe persuaded in investing in those things, because eventually it's going to help them, in the long run, it's going to help the hospital.
So how would you go about doing that, Michael? Because I think it's a good
No,
idea, but I don't know how do you get their buy-in.
I mean, I mean, when I put it on my case study, I say that should be, she should have a meeting with them, and show them and persuade them and show her. I mean, I don't think any hospital. I mean, in this case, I think that if they were persuaded to see the numbers and see the benefits that would bring to change the culture, show them, look, this is what's going to happen if we don't change the culture, and this is what would happen if we invest, a little bit of money in this type of training for the whole team, so that we can all be on the same page. And perhaps maybe they don't need to pay the whole company, but maybe one person can take the training and then bring that training to the company.
Yeah, I like that.
You know what I mean? Like, they
Yeah.
could save money, but instead of paying for every employee to be involved in the training, they can choose one person from the whole, whether for the administrative staff or from I'm sure there is a training staff in the building, or even from the director, of the nursing staff. They say, look, I'll take the training, I'll bring the training into the into the unit, and I think that they will. I would face it that way, because I don't think they would say no, given the consequences of not changing the culture of the team.
So
That was what I.
Yeah, that's a
what
good
I put
idea.
on my study.
I think that would be a good idea. I think that would probably help. And then I was reading what Amber said. So Amber said that the younger ones aren't getting feedback to help them move forward in their learning, and they need to be put with a senior and a young, or like, if I'm right about this, Amber, Norris needs to hook up a senior and a newbie, right? Is that right? Okay. So that they can teach each other. Well, so that the younger ones can get taught.
Hey,
But if I remember right, I think it was the first lady that was older. She, and maybe I'm just making this up in my head, but I don't think she really wanted anything to do with the younger nurses. Am I right?
well, not only that, but she also, a couple of them didn't want to change. So in other words, if they update procedures or anything like that, they don't want to update with it. They're set in their ways. So
Yeah.
not only do they not want to help, they don't want to. But I agree, they need to work with the younger ones so
Yeah.
they can build team camaraderie. But you're going to have to work with the senior ones to make sure that they're up on what they're supposed to be doing and that they do it.
Because I think that's a great idea of having a senior and a newbie work together. I'm just wondering, how would you do it? Would you have to like sit down with all the seniors, like all the ones who have been there for 30 years, and tell them like, hey, we need you guys to help out the newbies? Do you think that
Well,
would work?
I think if you put it in their performance review, so at my company we have leadership ratings. So not only do you have to do your job, but you also have to do well in your leadership rating to get raises, to get. I mean, it can even lead to, if you're bad in your leadership ratings, which is also your team rating, you can actually get written up for it and stuff. So it needs to be included in their annual review, and that actually needs to matter instead of it, just the reviews going by the wayside. But if you put it in the review that you've got to do X, X, and X with, whoever you're partnered with or within your team or however you want to put it, then they see it clear in black and white that this is not just something that's, instead of them going out of the way, this is them actually doing their job still.
Any other obstacles that we were thinking about? No. Okay. So the next bullet point is advise an action plan for Norris. What are the specifics of your plan? So basically, what should Norris do? So far, she has held a meeting. A lot of people have addressed their concerns. And now what?
I think she needs to start with training and then set clear expectations. But it's going to take time. So you get people trained. I would start with the bottom up. I would start with the TAs or the assistants or whatever they were called. Start with them, get them trained on what they're supposed to be doing, how they're supposed to be helping. And then work your way up on training. And then, like you said, you got to set clear expectations. It's got to be in the review annual document. And it's got to matter. If they don't meet those metrics, they've got to get written up. If they do meet those metrics, they got to be praised for it and have the raises based off of it.
I agree.
I think she could do. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good. Go ahead, Michael.
Yeah, another thing I think she should do, which I think is really super important, is whether, because it's not really clear what kind of, evaluating system they have for employees, but she should either, upgrade the one that they have, or find out if the one they have works best or not, and really they feel that they're just as important as the patients are. Do that is to I think not the only way, but one way that she can do that is having that feedback constantly coming back to them. Yeah, you're doing a great job, or no, you're lacking on this, but hey, we're going to help you get there. So just tell us what we can do to help you do your job better. Not just point the bad things, but help people see that they're cared for, that they're an important part of the team.
So that, Michael, that was something that she, I think she was thinking, because she mentioned how negative they were. Definitely focusing on what, like, specifics. What can I individually do to make this a better team, right? And if everyone was thinking that'd be awesome.
And to treat each other like their clients. Like, if they treat each other like their clients, she could teach them that. Like, everyone is a client. Like, I'm your client. Like, we're, as students, we're each other's clients. So we have to treat each other with that level of respect. And I think that would be something that she could do, implement something like that within the team.
Yeah. Amber said, yeah, go ahead.
No, you go ahead and read Amber's.
So Amber said, lay ground rules, like being open and honest with each other, and no gossiping or spreading rumors. I think that's a great, concept. I remember when I worked at Fat Burger in high school. You guys ever had Fat Burger? It's like a Five Guys.
Yeah,
it's actually pretty good.
Before.
The name's gross, but it's pretty good. So when I worked there, one of the things that they said was it was like a no cussing rule and a no, I think it was gossiping, something like that. And it goes right along with what Amber was saying. And I definitely think it did bring unity to our group. I don't really know why, but it did. And so I think that is definitely something that Norris, Barbara could do. She could like lay a ground rule and say like, hey, no gossiping about younger newbies, or no gossiping about the older nurses, and I think that could help. Austin, what were you going to say?
I was just going to say, think about back to I think back to Preach My Gospel and Mission Times, and there's a quote in there that says, the study of the gospel of Jesus Christ changes behavior faster than the study of behavior changes behavior. And in this scenario, of course, like not everyone's going to be a member of the church or have those values. But I think like your experience that you shared with Fatburger, like when you set a culture for the company, like give the people something to believe in, like I think a study, like focusing on those things will change behavior rather than just focusing on changing behavior, because then people are, they're getting the indirect result in a different way.
Yep. Okay. So there is a few points on the leader discussion thing, and I guess I have to read them a little bit. So it's called the 4 drive theory. I don't know why it doesn't say why. Driven is how human nature shapes our choices. So the first point that it says is the drive to acquire. Humans have a fundamental need to seek and acquire objects and experiences they value. Given the general scarcity of desired objects and experiences, this drive draws humans into competition with one another. So what does that mean, guys?
Nathan, I'm going to be completely honest.
Didn't listen, huh?
I was trying to think of another Adele reference to throw in the chat.
I actually was too, so I'm reading the question on the group leadership sheet right now.
So I'll sum it. I'll sum it up. So basically the drive to acquire is the idea that people, they want things or they desire things that they're interested in. And when you have a scarcity of that product, it makes people go into competition one with another. So the question is, how well does GSU's reward system fulfill the drive to achieve and acquire?
Well, right now it doesn't at all.
Yeah.
Tough. It's like they get an F on that.
I think specifically of Jennifer in that situation. Her studies, her extra classes to keep up with the technology, and they didn't even reward her at all for it.
Yeah, so that's what's got to change. Even if they can't give raises or bonuses, they've got to have some sort of reward system to incentivize doing a good job.
Yeah. Okay. The next bullet point is called the drive to bond. And it says, humans have a fundamental emotional need to seek and develop mutual social commitments. This drive draws humans into collaboration with one another. And the question is, how well does GSU's culture fulfill the drive to belong and bond?
0. Well, not 0, but very low.
I feel like to a point though, like all the older nurses, they had a great drive to bond, but they did not have a drive to bond with the newer nurses, right?
Yeah, it's kind of.
So I guess, yeah, you're right, 0, but.
It's like the culture exists among the original employees, but not the younger employees.
Yeah. Okay.
I think they were only bonding to be against change and against the younger group. I don't think they were bonding for positive reasons. Not only, but you know what I mean.
True.
They were doing it to protect themselves, which is a good thing, but it's also a bad thing,
Yeah. Okay. The next one is the drive to comprehend. And this one says, humans have a fundamental emotional need to develop understandings of their environments and themselves. This drive draws humans into collecting information, building new knowledge, exploring new possibilities, and finding meaning in their activities and life. How well does GSU's job design fulfill the drive to challenge and comprehend?
I don't think it does a very good job. Going back to, once again, they don't really feel appreciated. They don't really feel like when they do extra, go above and beyond, that there's any rewards. I mean, they kind of all tie together. So I think the employee drive is rather low when you have a lot of employees who aren't reaching their full potential because they're stuck in this state of, well, no matter what we do, no matter how hard we try, we're not going to get anything from it.
Okay. Any other thoughts with the drive to comprehend? Okay. The drive to defend. This is the last one. It says humans have a fundamental emotional drive to defend our accomplishments in fulfilling our other three drives. When such accomplishments are threatened, humans experience fear or anger and respond by flight or fight. How well does GSU's performance management system fulfill the drive to depend and defend?
Let's have David answer. Just listen to the question again.
I'm all bummed out that this is the last one, so I'm not paying attention.
Here, let me repeat it for you. Humans have a fundamental emotional drive to defend our accomplishments. In fulfilling our other three drives, when such accomplishments are threatened, humans experience fear or anger and respond by flight or fight. How well does GSU's performance management system fulfill the drive to depend and defend?
0. I mean, it's what we've been talking about. There is no leadership, so the culture there isn't a culture there at all, other than the culture that the individuals have put in place themselves. So there's no recognition. They don't feel like they're being heard. So like the younger one was fighting for recognition, saying she does all this extra stuff and nothing's happened, and it's upset her. And then the older ones is saying, I'm overwhelmed. I can't help other people out. It's not getting me anywhere anyway. Why would I keep helping out?
So
Boom.
I just had a thought. So do you think the older nurses would have like do you think they would feel threatened by the newer nurses because they're coming out of the newer generations, there's newer technology, things like that? Do you think they would feel threatened by that?
They could.
I think so.
Go ahead, Michael.
No, I think so. I think I have that experience actually. One of my first job, I worked at as a dealer and a nurse, and then the older guys, because I was more willing to do the extra work and go the extra mile, they did not like me, and because what they didn't know, it was that the person that hired me was the general manager, he was the one training me. And when the general manager, which was my friend, went on vacation, he left another manager, but of course he didn't inform them that I was hired by him. But they kept complaining to the manager saying, we don't want the new guy, he's going to take all our sales because he's too aggressive. He goes out and stands in the street and the sidewalk and starts talking to people. And he brings them in the dealership, and we're sitting over here waiting for people to come in. But instead of seeing the positive thing about thinking, well, he's going to take our job, and they complained so much that eventually the guy told me, hey, we can't. We're going to have to transfer you to a different dealership because the guys here don't want to work with you. So I know, and I learned that they were threatened by me, but simply because I was making more sales than them, or I was doing a better job. But because there was no leadership there to protect me, the easiest thing for them to do was just put me to the side.
That's kind of a bummer.
I know, right? But that's really that. It doesn't get any worse than that. I think that's what people that feel threatened. That's what they do. Is they fight you instead of trying to embrace you. The nurses were doing with the new nurses, instead of embracing them and helping to become better nurses, they were like, "Oh, they're here and they're going to take our job." They forgot that at some point when they first started their nurse career, they were not very experienced. Had to get to that level, and I'm sure they didn't do it by themselves. But other people had to help them get there. But they forget that because they feel threatened by the new nurses. And they might be right in the aspect where they say, well, they have lack of experience, or maybe some of them are not as good as they should be. But I think that Brittany focused on the bad qualities and not the good things. It goes, it's full.
So I actually thought of something opposite of this also. So we were talking about how the older nurses might feel threatened of the newer nurses. Do you think the newer nurses might feel threatened of the older nurses because the older nurses might have, might have like more knowledge in the field? Do you think they might feel threatened about that?
I think they probably more than feel threatened.
Yeah, it was just a thought. I feel like there's a lot of things that people can try to defend themselves about, and if they feel threatened about anything, they're gonna do that fight or flight. Okay, the last thing says create an action plan. So consider taking a few minutes to discuss the specific actions Barbara should take to resolve the issues we have discussed.
I think we already did that.
Yeah, we did already do this. Tara, make sure you send him your address. Hey, I want a GMC Sierra.
I'll just head down to the local Chevy dealership and get us all some new Silverados.
Cool. Any other thoughts about this case study? What's the biggest thing that
we want to talk about how we're going to miss each other from now on.
And Christmas presents.
Is this our last thing?
Apparently.
I thought we had one more, but maybe I'm confused.
Well,
I hope we have one more.
On the sheet, it had week 12 as the last week, but he said that we don't have week 12. It's week 11, and apparently that's our last.
All right. Well, I know there's not one week 12. I'm looking week 13.
I think we have one in week 13.
Oh, well, it wasn't on the sign-up sheet, so I thought maybe that meant there wasn't anymore.
There's a reading discussion. I think there's one week 13. So we got one more.
But is there a case study on week 13?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is.
Who wants to do it?
I can do it, or if somebody else, or Michael wants to, or somebody, that's fine too.
You say week 13?
Yeah. 2 weeks from today.
Okay, reluctantly.
Reluctantly.
Well, maybe for your Christmas present, I'll be the group leader instead. That'll save me some money since everybody else wants new tracks.
Yeah, that's the 13th. Man, school goes all the way till the 21st. Oh.
That's
I know.
really
No
cool.
way.
I've never
Yeah.
been shopping
That
done.
sucks.
I have 1 year left. I'm so ready to be done.
Me too.
Amber, that's all you want? You just want an ice cream scoop?
Wow.
All I want for Christmas is to hear Amber's voice.
That's funny. It is cheaper than a
week
truck.
13.
That's true.
Week 13, then I'll be. I'll just pretend to be.
So I have a Pakistan class that I hate, and I
I
have
love that Pakistan class.
No, I hate it so much, and I've got senioritis for that class. I have
I
done nothing.
love that class, dude.
I
I
did
would.
take that one, so I took the World Foundations too instead.
I think I have to take that class. What's so good about it? What's so bad about it?
I love the I Am Malala book, and
Yeah.
then just how much. I had no idea how much Pakistan has impacted the rest of the world, and Afghanistan and all of that. It's crazy.
Yeah, the I Am Malala book was good, but I didn't really like anything else about the class.
Oh, I liked reading about how the dictators, the military take over, and then they would go to a corrupt democracy, and then they go back. All of it was, I don't know, it was really fascinating to me.
I also remember a lot of presentations.
Yeah, you had to do a lot of. There was a lot of busy work in there, but everything we learned was good. It was just, yeah, there was a lot of busy work, in my opinion.
Yeah, so all that busy work, I'm like procrastinating just because I don't want to do it. But-
Yeah, I'm only doing school on 2 days a week now. Right now, I'm doing all my work on Mondays and Fridays. Oh wait, we're still recording. I mean, I work on this daily.
I can stop.